and welcome to the Generation Logistics podcast. In this episode, we're going to be speaking about the different routes into logistics, the qualifications you can obtain, and which route is best for each individual. My name is Hope Ellen, and I'm joined by three wonderful guests to discuss the topic in more detail. If we can begin by hearing your name and the role you're currently doing, starting with you.
Hi, my name is Callum. I'm currently a site manager for GXO Logistics over in Thurrock.
Fantastic.
Hi, my name is Eleanor. I work for Amazon as a operations manager in the Nottingham area.
Hello, Eleanor. And last but not least.
And I'm Donald, and I work for Hoyer Gas and Petroleum Logistics as a contract manager.
Fantastic. So let's dive straight in the deep end and talk about the routes that you took, starting with you, Donald.
I came into logistics in 2004. I joined Hoyer as a graduate on their management development program, but I was 34 at the time, and so I'd left school. I'd done some other jobs, been in the army, then went to college and university, and so given my age, I was keen to try and accelerate through things, and so I was gladly accepted on Hoyer's graduate management program.
And being 34 and slightly more mature than maybe some other people going into that role, how did you feel?
It did feel quite daunting at first. And I was looking around at different sort of sectors to go into because I was trying to fit. I was trying to see where I would be more suited to be. And when looking at the logistics side of things and the starting point for me, which would be driver facing, and the types of skills that would be required, I felt that I really fitted into that. I'm pretty good at getting on with people, actually. And I could see that a lot of companies were looking for people that had that ability. And so that's why I pursued it in that way.
It's really refreshing to hear that you can have multiple careers within your life, can't you? And at 34, that's when you found something that you really wanted to stick with.
Yes, it took a bit of time. I suppose having left school with no qualifications, becoming a graduate was quite a big deal. But it helps to give you confidence as well in terms of trying to pursue something more, actually. And I've been very lucky, although a lot of it is hard work, to be able to progress within the industry as well. And when I'm recruiting, I sort of think back to what I could offer. And I am very keen to look at people that are coming in through, I suppose, the non-conventional routes, actually, because I think they bring a massive skill set with them, especially within the logistics sector of driver-facing positions, because the ability to get on with people is going to be the difference whether a job's going to be done well or not.
So would you say the route that you took actually has made you more open-minded for the role that you're currently doing?
I would say so, yes, because it can be quite easy to think that you need a specific person or a specific skill set to be able to do a job. But having been in the industry now for nearly 2 decades, there is so much that we can train somebody to do. But you can't train attitude and items like that. I suppose they call it soft skills. You can't train that, and so a lot of the recruitment that I've been doing over the last few years, I look at what we can train somebody to do, I look at the types of skills and experience that they already have. The big thing I'm looking at, are they going to fit well within our culture? Are they going to positively engage with our people? And are they going to look after their people? That's the big thing I'm looking at, because everything else we can train them to do.
And what is that culture?
It's looking after your people. It's valuing that everyone has something to give. Everyone has a job to do. It's really important with leaders within the industry to create the type of environment where people feel valued and they can flourish. And whether a company is successful or not, it's down to all of its people, actually. And so it's really important to create the environment where people can actually thrive. I was very lucky to join a company that works in that way. I'm very proud that I'm able to continue that, actually. And through that way of thinking, a lot of people have come into the industry that that may not have been given that opportunity in the first place because they don't fit a certain mould.
Eleanor, tell me your story, your route into logistics.
Yes, so my route, so I graduated in 2018 from the University of Nottingham. Really enjoyed my time there and did something completely different to logistics. So I actually studied psychology and cognitive neuroscience.
Wow.
So nothing to do with logistics at all. From there, I went on to a graduate programme with a retailer at the time. I was there for about 3 years, enjoyed the opportunity, enjoyed the experience. I was then looking for other opportunities, came across Amazon, came across logistics. So I sort of kind of fell into it rather than choosing to go into it. But I made that decision about nearly 2 years ago now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So for me, I think the biggest driver for me coming into the role that I came into was the management side of things. So from my degree, I learned a lot about people, why people do what they do. And for me, I find that very useful in terms of going into management. So from the logistics side of things, I don't think it needs to be something you always aim to go into. If you've got that background, got that understanding, you can then decide, this is for me. And making that decision has been the best decision that I've made. I've really enjoyed the team that I work with and enjoyed getting to see so many different people develop and grow. Even though my way of coming in was through the graduate scheme, I think a lot of other people I've seen have come through with apprenticeships and completely different routes. So I don't think there's one that's right over the other, and you don't have to come from a logistics background. You can come from whatever background you want, and you might just find it's for you.
So with that in mind then, the graduate scheme, you can have any degree.
Any degree, doesn't matter what degree you have. And I think that's one of the most interesting parts. They're looking for finding people who have that ambition, have that drive, want to understand a new area of business. You don't have to have business management, have logistics, have supply chain background. I think it probably would help if you have that. But I've shown through myself that I've been able to do that without coming from that background.
Callum, were you similar to Eleanor in that you done something completely different and went into it?
Yes, I was completely different. Unlike Eleanor, I didn't go and have a degree or anything like that, didn't join the graduate scheme. So I actually recruited myself. So I worked in recruitment, supplying GXO at the time back in 2016, and there was a role available which I quite liked the look of. So I spoke to the boss there at the time and managed to secure myself a position. And I think, the beautiful thing about logistics for me is that the opportunities are truly endless. I think today's society, you're set up to go to school, to go to university, to study a subject, to find eventually employment in relation to that subject. That's a bold decision to make at 16, 18 and 21, to choose an education which is going to shape your life. When you haven't got that work experience, what I enjoy about logistics is the fact that you get opportunity to try and change different paths. You could start off in operations and you could end up in finance, or you could start in finance and end up in HR. As long as you're willing to learn and take those opportunities as they come, you can go down whatever direction you wish.
If down the line you decided a degree was what you wanted to do, would you be able to do that through your company?
Yeah, definitely. There's been people who've, with GXO, have actually got their degrees. So yes, I'm currently doing an apprenticeship, 18-month apprenticeship, where and that's all provided by GXO.
And why are you doing that?
Just to help develop my manager skill set, not only for myself, but to train my team. Big believer in mentoring and coaching the others, to try and give some of the same opportunities I've had. So it's about giving them and sharing my knowledge and my learnings through them as well.
So Eleanor, depending on which route you've taken, will you be given more or less opportunities?
I think it depends where you work and depends on your company. For Amazon, there is so many opportunities across every area of the business. So no matter whether you're coming as a level 1 employee and you want to work your way up, there's so much opportunity. So obviously my personal route was coming through the graduate side of things, which was fantastic to get that understanding and responsibility early on. But we have so many different opportunities. We have career choice, in which you can decide to study something completely different that might eventually lead to you leaving Amazon. But if it's the right thing for you, Amazon wants to support people in that. I think there's different opportunities. So I think depending on the level will depend on the level of the opportunity. There's not necessarily less or more, it's just different level and a different scope. So coming in as an associate, you might have different time learning to be a team lead, work your way up to an area manager, etc. Whereas myself coming in doing the operations manager role, there's different opportunities for me to move site or work in a different department. So I think there's always lots of different opportunities, and it doesn't matter what route you take, as long as you know you're passionate about logistics and that's what you want to go into.
And just to build on that somewhat, so I completely agree, but I also think that, it's individual, so it depends on what your output is. So if you're fully embracive and you go there and you put, heart in your sleeves and you work hard, then you'll get the results afterwards. There's also a level of maturity to it though too. You need to have those honest and open conversations with your line manager to talk about what your direction you want to head towards. And ultimately that is the key to success, is being open and putting in the hard work as well.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. I think you need to be the champion of your own success. Yeah. If you drive that and you have those conversations, you can help support yourself to get those opportunities, because there's loads out there. You just need to challenge yourself and work with a mentor, with a peer to get to that level.
And talking about my experience with the company that I work for, not only is there entry for graduates, but a number of years ago we introduced an employee assistance program, which was basically looking at a route to further development and a route to progression for existing employees that don't come from a graduate background. And there's been some real successes in that area as well. And again, it's people coming through that may have been pigeonholed as not someone that's got the right qualities to progress, but by going through that process, actually demonstrate that they're more than capable of doing it, which is fantastic to see.
And Donald, we know there's a skills gap in the industry. Does having different routes close that gap a little bit?
Most definitely, yes, because you have to sort of spread yourself wide, in those types of challenging scenarios. So when you look at skills gap, one area that I was directly involved in over the last year or so, of course, is the driver shortage. And through that, the government has assisted with various programs in relation to that. But what has really driven the closure of that gap is how companies have actually reacted, not only in the type of positions that they want to fill, but reducing the barriers to entry is probably the best way of explaining it. Making it easier for people that don't come from a logistics background to enter the industry. And the way that companies have done that is offering specific training to people to close that skills gap. And so the companies, have done a really good job, I think, in resolving the issue, actually.
Logistics is a really broad kind of term, isn't it, for all the different things that you can do and what you can grow into and try within that sector. So do you think exposure is a big thing that stops people kind of going down this route, Eleanor?
I think a lot of it does come down to exposure. So things like today, for instance, we're actually talking about logistics. We're getting that awareness out there. As I said, for myself coming out of university, it wasn't something that I looked into or considered. But coming in, as Callum alluded to earlier, there's lots of different areas you can go into when you go into logistics. You've got operations, HR, finance, so many different areas. So I think spreading that awareness to people so they know there is those opportunities within that area, I think makes a massive difference. So the more awareness we can spread and do things like this, I think it will allow more people to come into logistics and understand what logistics is about.
Yeah, I think pre-COVID, logistics weren't really heard of. It was only the impact of COVID that the outside exposure came in. Previously, it was very insular. Unless you worked in the industry, you were the only people who knew about it. Whereas, obviously, people in the pandemic logistics not operating to its full potential, and people were having an impact, you know, whether that be food shortages and whatnot, got the exposure, and now it's being talked about in these great conversations. You know, previously it was all, for the younger generation certainly, you know, it was a focus around sales roles, you know, and it's about showing the variety and the engaging things that you can do within the logistics industry as well, which hopefully we're all taking part in and trying to do.
Yeah, and I think you don't often hear about the amount of flexibility there is within logistics as well. It's a 24-hour business. There is so many different opportunities, so many different areas, and the time scale, the flexibility, everything that it gives you is massive. But completely agree, in terms of COVID, it made that massive difference, especially with Amazon and with other places. You do see a massive difference in people's ordering, changing of habits, and essentially without logistics, it wouldn't have worked.
Are there any myths that you've heard about your industry from people outside of it that you can dispel?
Well, I think pre-COVID, if you ask somebody what logistics is all about, they'll probably say, well, it's about driving a truck or driving a van, you know, and that's only part of it. It's such a wide spectrum, and therefore such a wide spectrum of jobs. Is it hard graft? Yes, it can be, actually. Is it fulfilling? Yes, most definitely. There was definitely a bit of a myth going round during the driver shortage that it could be quite low-paid positions within logistics. But I think over the last year or so, it's proven that you can have a worthwhile career in logistics, and you can earn a really good wage in doing that as well.
I think a lot of the myths around logistics, you think safety boots, high-vis jacket, you know, helmet on. Now, all of those do exist because we work in safety environments. So I work sometimes on the dock. I've got to have my safety boots on and my high-vis on. But the amount of people that you meet from diverse backgrounds, the amount of people that you work with who are just from completely different areas and walks of life, I think is just fantastic. You tend to look at logistics and just say it's the same sort of people, the same sort of age of people, the same sort of genders, that sort of stuff. So especially coming in as a female, it often has been misrepresented that it might just be males within the industry. But it's showing actually there is such a diverse group of people, there's such a diverse culture, and trying to break that myth of it's just someone in safety boots and a high-vis. Because it is that, but it's so much more. And getting that awareness and sharing that with everyone will just have such a big impact.
What would you say to a young female who's thinking about logistics but has that kind of perception in their head?
I'd say go for it. I think we also need to make sure we're not holding ourselves back. There's always barriers and challenges no matter who you are, where you come from, what your background is. So don't look at the negatives, look at the positives. There is plenty of females out there in the logistics. One of my partners who works on the other shifts, she is a female as well. We have plenty within the industry, and I think it's doing, as I said, things like this where you share and show it's not just the same group of people. So definitely say to any woman out there who wants to go into logistics, go for it. There's plenty of opportunities, there's plenty of skills that you learn, and the best part for me is being around the people. And the people really make the job different. So if you enjoy engaging with people, building people up, giving them that management, giving them that support, logistics is definitely for you.
Donald, you mentioned pay there, and I wanted to ask if, depending on which route you go down, does that differ your pay? Say you're coming in as an apprenticeship or postgrad, how will that impact your pay level?
I suppose the impact is going to be your starting position, actually. No doubt most graduates coming in will be coming on to graduate development programs of some sort, and therefore are probably starting off on something that will be slightly higher than, say, an apprentice. But when you look at some of the apprenticeships that are out there, these are highly skilled positions, actually. And although the financial reward might be quite low at the beginning, as you start to build your skill and experience, your value within the industry will go up, and pay will naturally go up with that as well. It's such a diverse industry, actually. You can't kind of look at it as, well, there's a middle manager, so they will earn more than most people within the industry. It doesn't work like that at all. You will have drivers within certain industries because of the skill set and the highly regulated nature of what they do. Will be on a much higher rate of pay than drivers that are within other sectors of the industry. And so how you drive yourself and what you want to achieve will often determine where you're going to end up when it comes to pay.
Callum, as someone who's doing an apprenticeship at the moment, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, no, so in terms of, it really depends. In terms of pay, if you're doing an apprenticeship alongside your current job, you're not at no financial detriment. What I would say is, though, by being able to learn and have the ability to learn in your current role is really beneficial for yourself. We talked earlier about the different channels that you can go down and how you can help grow yourself. And I think that learning's continued, from every position in your journey. It's not just year one, you're learning, not just year two, 10 years down the line that you can still be learning and still developing your skill set as a leader.
Yeah, I think off the back of that as well, we talk about, apprenticeships, and we talk about kind of going in as a graduate. You go in at different points in your life. So in terms of the pay, there will be a difference. There is going to be a difference. But there's no reason why by that time and the opportunities as coming in as an apprentice that you won't be on the same salary, even more salary than a graduate coming in. And I think a lot of it comes down to if the decision you're making is based on pay, that's the wrong decision to make. People learn in completely different ways. I was quite an academic, hence why I went to university. If you're a very practical learner and like to learn on the job, apprenticeships are the way to go. And as we said earlier, that doesn't stop your opportunities. It might impact your pay to start with, but you might be 17, 18 going in compared to a 21, 22, 23-year-old going in as a graduate. So work out your learning style, work out what works best for you, because that's the only way and that you can make sure that you end up in the field you want and in the time frame that you need. So pay is important, of course. It's important to everyone, but make sure you do what's right for you, and that's not the only decision you take into account.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think, it is so individual. We've got, 16, 17-year-olds who might not want to do further education for one reason or another. And that's not going to hinder them. I think whatever path you go down, be that an apprenticeship, an internship, a graduate scheme, direct employment, you're not going to be at no detriment. You're still going to learn. You're still going to have opportunity. And yes, it might be a different path, but if you want to go into a certain position, all paths will lead back to that direction.
So, what factors should be considered when you're choosing between a degree or an apprenticeship route? Callum, what did you consider?
Yeah, so I considered lifestyle. At the time, what direction did I want to go? I was currently in a job that I enjoyed, but did I see myself having a long-term career in it? Probably not. So when the opportunity came, because I was involved in the world of logistics, I understood the different channels and paths that we could eventually become. So I decided to, take that blind leap of faith just to really develop myself, and I saw logistics as a opportunity to be able to go down a broad spectrum of roles. So if I tried one, almost try before you buy. If I tried a role in operations and I didn't enjoy it, our business is so vast that I can go elsewhere, and stay within a business and grow as an individual.
Eleanor, you mentioned earlier on that your degree didn't really have a direct connection to logistics. Is there a particular undergraduate degree that you think would align more?
I think definitely there's a couple that would. Anything regarding either business management, supply chain, logistics, transport. There's lots of different degrees out there that you can do that can get you into those roles. What I'd recommend to anyone if they know they want to go into logistics is start working backwards. Find the grad scheme, find the information that you want or where you want to go, and look at what are they asking for, what are the qualifications, what do I need for that, and then work backwards and go, okay, that's where I want to go, this is where I want to end up, this is what I need to do to get there. In terms of for myself, that's how I worked a little bit. So when I was kind of finishing my A-levels, I kind of wrote down what are my skills and also what do I enjoy. And if they pair up, great. Then I'd look at different opportunities that are out there, what fits my set of skills and what I enjoy. And from that's kind of led me to my degree and led me towards management, because I enjoy working with people. I enjoy supporting people and helping people to get the information that they need and supporting them with their own development and own career. So that was kind of the route that I decided to take, but there's no right or wrong answer. It's what's best for you. As I said, I decided to take graduate. Callum obviously decided to do apprenticeship. both of them equally valid opportunities to do, and we're both sat here today, similar positions, doing similar jobs. So I think that's just a key indicator of how you can go whatever route and end up in a similar sort of situation.
Well, Donald, Eleanor and Callum, thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences today. And thank you to you for joining us. Make sure you stay tuned for some more insightful episodes coming soon.